preliminary reports say that Daniel Snyder will be selling the Washington Commanders. Now, it hasn't been officially a deal that's been put out there. Well, this group is buying it or this group. Allegedly, I believe it's a group led by Josh Harris. He's a co-owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. Magic Johnson is a part of the group. I believe we discussed at one point RG3 was saying he was going to be able to be a part of that group.
Yeah.
LaVar, would you being drafted?
Some bubblicious.
Would you being drafted to that franchise and your relationship with that franchise not at its best, what are your thoughts? Is it best for the organization? And what are your thoughts if this report is to be true?
Well, I think if it is Will Harris and Magic Johnson in that group, I mean, there's a third one. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's from D.C., from Potomac, Maryland, I believe, something like that, from the Maryland area. I'll say this. I don't know what the new ownership will do, but as of right now, today, it would appear that anything is better than what's currently going on. It's not like Dan Snyder is the first owner that has failed to bring a winning culture to an organization, but it clearly has gotten so ugly with what's taking place with Dan Snyder, with everything that's been reported and everything that's been talked about, that it has clearly dominated everything that's being discussed as it applies to the team, from the name change and how he didn't want to change the name based off of, his beliefs and how he felt about it, to the work environment and everything that took place there, to the product on the field. I mean, I think he's had, 5 winning seasons since being the owner of the team. And while you'll say, you know what, some of these organizations, they don't win either. And they've been owned by families for many generations. I just think that it's gotten so ugly with how people view the aspects of the work environment. Obviously, the allegations from the cheerleaders that want the report to be released and all of those different things. I just think that anything is going to be better for the organization as a whole moving forward. Anything's going to be better for the fan base, and anything's going to be better for Dan Snyder and his family. I would assume he's selling the team not because he wants to or he had to. I think he's probably selling that team because his family, the wife and family, it's probably just gotten to be too much. And I think that's where this is, if you ask me. I obviously knowing Magic and what he's been able to do as an owner, he's been successful, and Will has been successful as well. So, I think if this does happen, or not Will, Josh, right? Josh Harris, not Will.
Yes, Josh Harris.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is the type of group that could take and eventually, turn this organization around, because it's the culture that's all effed up. That's what it is. It's at the top. It's culture.
Yeah, I just think they need a culture shift, man. They really do. Everything that's happened over all these years since Daniel Snyder has become the owner of this team back in 1999, I mean, look at what they've done. 27 different starting quarterbacks, 10 different head coaches in that time frame, and 2 playoff wins. And the last, almost 25 years, it's just time for Daniel Snyder to step aside. And just like LaVar said, it does have an impact on who the owner is and how the organization is ran. But from an organizational standpoint, you still have to put a product on the field that it can go out and compete. And just to piggyback off what LaVar said, people have went into organizations and not done well, and he has not by any stretch of imagination. But, who is making the call? Who is hiring the head coaches? Who is drafting these players, and who is bringing these coaches in to make these decisions? And that's the thing that needs to be, the priority for this organization moving forward. And make no mistake about it, man. I'm from Virginia Beach, and I don't know what it is, but my city and my town They're heavy Washington Commanders and Dallas Cowboys fans, and Washington has one of the biggest fan bases in all of sports. And to watch the drop off from a fan standpoint, I think they built the largest stadium back in '99. They had 91,000, and they had the highest attendance in the NFL for 20 years. And now you turn these games on TV, you see 40, 50,000 fans in the stands. I've actually had some of my friends reach out to me over the past couple of days, and they said, "Man, I can be a fan again." So that just lets you know and understand what the fans have been going through, along with the team and the organization. People are refreshed and are optimistic about what the Commanders can do this season going forward. And Mayor Bowser, the mayor of Washington D.C., she has been petitioning for a little while now to get all those teams back in Washington D.C. If you do know, the Commanders playing what is it, Landover, Maryland or Virginia or something. She wants all the professional teams back in D.C. with the Capitals and the NBA basketball team. So moving forward, they still have to go out and put a product on the field that can contend to win some football games and maybe one day in the near future win a divisional championship.
You say you finish with put a football team on the field that can contend. Everybody knows that the Washington Commanders don't have a quarterback under this new ownership. Would or could they try to make a splash immediately and say, let's go right down the street and see if we can sign Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet and force the Baltimore Ravens to match? You know, you guys talk about everything with the Commanders. To me, their best player for years, they traded this guy for a 5th-round pick and a 3rd-round pick, Trent Williams. He was so disappointed in their medical staff, and they traded him to the San Francisco 49ers for a 3rd and a 5th. But could you see that on a football field? Let's make a splash immediately. Let's get in the headlines. We get a young, good quarterback. We have really good receivers. We have a really good front seven on defense. We're built to win now if we can get that QB.
Hey, there's no telling what this new ownership is thinking going into this draft, man. If they can get a hold of this team before the draft, I don't know what the time frame on it is, but man,
that's too soon. That ain't gonna be. That's too soon.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. But what I would ultimately say is why not just go into this season, see what you have. If you do well, then you readdress and you reevaluate what you're going to do. You're going to need a quarterback in DC. Why don't you get in, start to build the culture, and if you just happen to have a bad season, you know, Caleb Williams is from DC. If y'all didn't know, Caleb Williams is a local kid. He's an amazing football player, and Washington could possibly be in position to make a move for Caleb Williams in next year's draft. And not to mention, you know, there's a few more quarterbacks in next year's draft that are going to be really, really good ball players as well. I think you get in there and you measure and you gauge what you have first. Start the assessment first.
I just think, man, with all due respect, if you go out there, if you are the ownership for the Commanders going into the season, there is nothing really for you to look forward to as far as you getting better as a football team, because you're basically putting the same guys out there that you put out there last year. You have to get a quarterback if you want to win in this business. And ain't no telling what they may do in the draft, but I just think, man, if you keep the same team and put them in the NFC East where they are now, they're still going to be the worst team in the division with the current roster that they have now.
I mean, we know they don't have a quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback, and some would say their best quarterback is, RG3 or Kirk Cousins? They have not found a quarterback. That's how long it's been. And so they're going to go into the season with Sam Howell as their quarterback, another unknown. And maybe he turns out to be that guy. But it's
why
very
is that,
rare.
though? Why is that with one particular organization that they have had 27 starting quarterbacks in the last 20 seasons? Why is that?
It's dysfunction from the top. when you're
And
dysfunctional
it's
at the top,
impatience,
it sprinkles into the locker room, and it happens. You draft guys at the coaching staff they don't want to draft, and so forth and so on. And then LaVar brings up Caleb Williams. Yeah, he's from the D.C. area, but Washington is not going to be the worst team in the league because they have too many good players. They won't be a playoff team, but they won't be the worst team.
they might be in position to maneuver to get him, though. They might be. You just never
maneuver
know.
to get him. Whoever finishes with the worst record, they're drafting Caleb Williams. They not trading that pick. And the Washington Commanders will be a non-playoff team, but they won't be the worst team. So you're back at square one. So why don't you go get somebody that's proven? Because you're not going to be bad enough to get Caleb Williams. And whoever is, they are drafting that young man. And the number 2 pick, they're going to draft Drake May from North Carolina. That's what's going to happen.
I'll just say this, and I think in the end, if this new ownership group gives the organization the proper opportunity to heal, who's ever there that has been there and has remained, if the organization has the opportunity to heal from all the damage that has been done for the amount of time that it's been done for, and people within the organization have the ability and the opportunity to start to build an emotional connection to their job and to the place that they're working. I think that has to be. We can talk personnel all day. We can talk drafts and quarterbacks and what they need to do, product on the field all day. But I think in the end, the damage has been so deep on the inside internally of that organization that the healing process has to take place one at a time from the top all the way down to the last person that is employed by that organization.
And they look like they've taken those steps, and that's what they've been doing. They're trying at least.
So if you're this new ownership coming in, are you off the bat firing the GM Martin Mayhew?
I don't know. Again, I think you have to get in and you have to assess what you have. I think you have to really, really take a good, long, hard, deep dive into what the culture and what the feelings of the people that are there are. The people that aren't, and I hate to say this, if you're too damaged from what's taking place there, you're going to have to go.
Yeah, so
if it's too much damage, you're going to have to go.
You're going to give everybody a year. Coach, GM, everybody's going to get this season.
But you guys are still talking football. I'm talking football. The entire
LaVar, we assume that the culture is going to change because people that have successful businesses, Magic Johnson, Josh, they're going to make sure the culture is
you
right.
I'm talking sales, PR,
you know how excited these people are? They're excited. So everybody's going to put their best foot forward.
Come in. You would think so. You would think so, but that you can't assume that. When you've been in that type of an environment for that amount of time, TJ, you cannot assume that.
And you may have to. You may have to, LaVar, get rid of some people in those positions that's been involved in this, because if you've been involved in this situation for so long, talking with the Commanders, you may have to go, because although you weren't involved in it, you weren't a champion for change either. You kind of let it happen if you had that type of sway and influence. And so, yeah, there will be some casualties and some people that lose their jobs. That's just what it is. But I'm almost certain with this new ownership, the culture from the top down will be different, and it will be different for the better.
Right.
Yep, we'll see.
Yeah, so I don't understand I don't know what strings Daniel Snyder was pulling while he was the owner of his football team. Was the GM making the hires of the head coach, or was Daniel Snyder making the hires for the head coach, and so on and so forth? And who was he acting as the owner and the general manager like Jerry Jones would do, or is it all on the general manager for hiring a coach and putting these players on and bringing these players to the organization?